It's like there's an American dream that was in Israel, and Jesus failed their idea of that. And that's where we get Luke 24. They're there on the road to Emmaus, and they are disappointed in Jesus. Their hero has disappointed them. And so I always look at that stuff eschatologically when I write songs, and a lot of people don't get it. But like with Jacob, I put myself and I say, how am I Jacob? When I look at the scriptures and I look at Peter, I don't go, oh, Peter, what a nut. I say, how am I Peter? When I look at the two fools on the road to Emmaus, I have to ask myself, where am I missing the Lord? Because he hasn't fulfilled my expectation. Jacob, I remember one day, I had written this song for years and didn't even hear this in it. One day I started crying while I was playing it. So Jacob, and I heard the word Jason, my dream's not what you do. Will you dream for me the way that I dream for you? Will you dream about who I am? Because if you dream about who I am, then the expectation is just who I am. It's just my presence. And then you won't miss me. 1 John says, don't be ashamed when I appear to you. That is not talking about the sky being broken. Look at any theologians and any scholars, anybody that's worth their cent isn't talking about that. He's talking about, I'm going to appear to you in ways that you did not expect to see me. Don't be ashamed. You know what that is? That's Tony Campolo years ago. The first time I heard this, I was offended by him because he swears in his sermons and stuff. And I was too religious to even understand that. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's right to swear in your sermons, but I'm like, I was so offended I couldn't even hear the truth in his message because he didn't come in the package, see? And so he would tell these stories. I remember one time he told this story about this was back in the 80s. This was before it was cool to hang out with the poor. You get it. But this was when it wasn't so cool, and there was a lot of division still. And I remember I was in a Methodist church, and he came and spoke, and he said these words. He got up, and you know Tony Campolo, right? He's not as big, I guess, anymore as he was, but I used to love listening to him. I used to listen to him all the time. I listened to him on a tape on my first date with my wife. In fact, this is a little insight. Bring me back to Tony, okay? Because I might forget. This is an insight. I have to tell you guys this. This is fun. I had a 4-speed Mazda 323. I worked for that car. It had rust spots that I had painted over with that paint they used to give you at those car dealerships. You know what I mean? And you paint over it. I mean, I should have just left the rust spots. It looked horrible. I just had these little spots, these little. And my wife and I went on our first date. And actually, it wasn't our first date. It was the first time I held her hand. Yeah. So I'm going up this highway, but see, I only had a 4-speed. So it started like shaking after like 60. And so we got on the highway, and we're listening to Tony Campolo, and you know how he is. He's just like crazy and wild sounding, and his voice is like, like it's so non-romantic to listen to. But we're listening to it, and something he said sparked me in such a way that I wanted to reach over and hold her hand. I don't know what it was. And so You know what I'm talking about. Like, I was a virgin when I got married, so you just have to excuse me for being so weird, but it was like, I never had sex, so I didn't know that. So holding the hand of the girl that you think is fine, I mean, that was it. You know what I'm saying? So this is what happens. I'm in third because I was passing a car. So I kicked it down to third and I'm passing. And somewhere in the middle of that pass, I grabbed her hand for the first time. We never made it to fourth. This is the true story. And I didn't want to let go of her hand to shift down. And I didn't want to, this is a true story. And I didn't want to let go of her hand to turn the radio off. So we stayed in third for 30 miles. We went all the way to Branson in third. We went from Springfield, Missouri to Branson in third to get ice cream and listening to Tony Campolo. That's a song. I'm gonna write a song. Springfield to Branson. In third. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we could get in trouble for that. From Springfield to Branson on third. Oh, in third. Oh, that is like awesome. Did that just happen? Oh. No, that's for all you married folks. From Springfield to Branson in third. On third. Oh gosh. Okay, we better stop now. Everybody give a hand for Brian. Okay. What was I talking about? Back to Tony Campolo. Tony Campolo, yes. He was the first person that showed me not to be ashamed of where you see Jesus and boast about it. Like, he was one of the first people that I ever saw. Like, he'd talk about seeing Jesus in prostitutes. Like, one time he was in Honolulu. Has anybody ever heard this story of him in Hawaii? And he and his wife went down to a diner to eat after he had spoken. They get down to the diner, and this lady comes walking in off the street, and she looks real sad. And they overhear that it's her birthday the next day, and that she doesn't have anybody to celebrate it with. And then they find out later that she's a prostitute. So he says, on me, I want you to buy fill the place with balloons, get a big old cake for her. We're coming here tomorrow night at the same time, and we're going to celebrate her birthday. And I just started thinking about that, like how we see Jesus, you know, where we see Jesus. That's it. On the road to Emmaus, being the fool and missing Jesus, you know, he's walking among us. And so I wrote this little song that goes, have you ever said goodbye to a hero? Have you ever had to lay away your dreams? Have you ever been so lonely that a stranger's your best friend? Then you know what I mean. This is our highway to heaven, our American dream. The two fools on the road